lot of people ask that. They will ask, so what do you do? And then I say, oh, I work with monkeys. And then they ask, how long? And I tell them, for quite a number of years. And they're like, but don't you know everything about these monkeys already? And the answer is no. I've been doing this for quite a while. So I think this is now the 18th year that I work in this project. And my job title is technician. So basically my job is to support the researchers that come here. There's a lot of scientists that want to work here. They want to answer many questions about how the monkeys work and things like that. Basically my job is to make sure that they can do that and that people can come here and do their research and don't have to worry too much about all the practical stuff. If you look at it very directly, people are right that we don't produce a lot of things that are immediately useful. Monkey research isn't going to give us the cure for cancer. Monkey research isn't going to help solve world hunger, things like that. But if you think about it a little more, what monkey research helps us do is it helps us understand how groups work. How do these monkeys manage to live together in groups while they also need to share resources? Why sometimes are there fights in these groups, and how do they fix these fights? So they were fighting before, they still need to live in the same group. How do they do that? Sometimes groups split. So monkeys that have been together in the same group maybe for 25 years, all of a sudden they don't want each other anymore and these groups split. Why does that happen? I think if you understand how groups function, this can probably really help us understand how human groups function. And I think that is very important because right now, for instance, we have many big problems that humans in groups need to solve. There's lots of wars going on. There's a big climate change problem that we need to solve. How do we make it so that big groups of humans actually work together? And I think maybe there we can learn a lot from the monkeys to see how that actually works. So we can understand better how humans work, and that I think we need to use. So I think that's why monkey research is important. I think a lot of people think of doing research. They think of like the questions that you can answer and all the thinking and the problems you can solve. I think what quite a lot of people forget, or maybe just don't know, that if you work with primates that are group living, these monkeys are just a lot of fun. You can go there every day for 23 years and they aren't boring. It's like the best and the longest running soap series you've ever seen. It's just really, I like being with these monkeys. I like being in the forest. It's much better than sitting behind a desk somewhere working with data. It's just really, really nice to hang out with the monkeys. And that's why I keep coming back. I think really working with monkeys in the wild isn't hard. It's just really, it's a very, very fun thing to do. Of course, sometimes if it's raining and the monkeys are on top of the trees and they're running and you're covered in leeches, then maybe I don't think it's that much fun. But just the work, being out with the monkeys and writing down what they're doing and just seeing what they're doing the whole day, that really is a lot of fun. What sometimes isn't so much fun is when you come back from the field and you're not with the monkeys anymore. there's a lot of management work that goes into keeping the work with the monkeys running. And some of those jobs aren't that much work, aren't that much fun. You need to clean a lot of data, you need to make sure that 10 different things are still the way they are supposed to be. But the work with the monkeys, always fun. A little bit less fun when it rains a lot. What I find very, very interesting in these monkeys is the way that the rank order works. We came here with ideas about how this rank order is supposed to work. And for the males, it's if you're big and strong, you win all the fights with the other males and you're the highest ranking. And for the females, if your family is large, you can all work together, and the female that has the largest family can win all the fights and they can become high ranking. And what we've seen over the years is that that's really not quite how it works. It's right up to a certain point. So if you are a very, very old male and you're very weak, you're not going to be the highest ranking. If you're a young and strappy male with a lot of muscle, you're probably going to be higher ranking. But what we also see for the males is that because they help each other, males are actually quite good at excluding other monkeys from the rank order. So maybe you have a male that goes through a growth spurt and all of a sudden he's very big and strong. He will win all the individual fights with the other males. So officially, he is the alpha male. But the older males, they are friends and they will team up together and they will keep this other male basically out of the group because he doesn't have enough friends to help him against all these older males. So for the males, really, it's not just strength, it's friends. And for the females, we're seeing something like that. So it does matter if you're just a female by yourself and you don't have any daughters to help you. Yes, you're going to be lower ranking than a female that has 10 daughters and wins a lot of fights. But in one of the groups, we've just seen that a family that was high ranking for a very, very long time, basically as long as we've known these monkeys, one very old female died and the whole family fell through the rank order and is now the lowest ranking one in that group. So I think that sort of shows that for the females also, it's not just a number, but it also has to do with personality of the monkeys, whether or not they can maintain their high-ranking position. And I think that's pretty much what happens in humans as well. It's like there's all this thing about testosterone males and good leadership. I think people sometimes forget is that you need to work with other people, you need to have friends, you need to build relationships in order to make everything function. And I think these monkeys show us that very, very nicely. And actually, we have like almost 20 years of data. This is really when the fun starts. In the beginning, we were just looking at, okay, so for the males, how does the rank order work? For the females, who gets the most access to food sources? Is this based on the rank order? During the mating season, how does this work? How do males try to exclude other males from mating? How do females try to mate with as many males as possible? So basically the first questions were really like, okay, so how does this species work? Now that we sort of know that, and now that we have 20 years of data, we can do like the really fun stuff. Because now we have 20 years of, okay, so how many babies get born each year? You can really see the effect. For the males, for instance, you cannot just look at if a male is high ranking, does he have the most offspring? Which is yes. It's usually the case that the alpha male has most of the infants, fathers most of the infants in a group. But over the career of a male, how much do these males actually differ in how many offspring they have? Because maybe there are males that never become alpha male, so they never have 1 or 2 years where they have most of the infants in the group, but maybe they're always quite high ranking. So over a period of 10 or 12 years, they produce not a lot, but at least a few. And maybe that works over an entire lifespan just as well as being high-ranking for a few years. And if you just look for a year, you don't see things like that because you don't have the data. It's the same thing for the females. If you look within a year, you really don't see that much effect of the rank order. Maybe if there is some very, very yummy food, you will see that the higher ranking females will eat first, and then the lower ranking females are sad because they have to make do with like the few fruits that are still left. But within a year, you don't really see the effect of that. High ranking females get infants, low ranking females get infants. But maybe over a lifespan, it does actually matter that occasionally you have less access to food. It may matter a lot more in a year where there is hardly any food. And of course you need to be there for a long time to have information about years with a lot of food and years with not a lot of food. And then you can see, okay, I followed this female for 20 years now. She's very high ranking. Does she actually have more infants over her life than a lower ranking female? Or does it actually not differ all that much? Of course, if it doesn't differ all that much, why do they have this rank order is then the next thing that I want to know. So basically, if you have more data, that's when you can start looking at the bigger patterns. Males, they move from group to group. Some males move from their birth group when they're 1.5 years old. Some males sit there until they're 6 or 7, or maybe they never leave. What makes them decide when to leave or not to leave? Some adult males are in a new group and they're there for 5 or 6 or 10 years, and at some point they decide, no, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm going to leave. How does that work? Why do these males do that? Things like that, you don't know that until you've been here for a very long time. So hopefully we can stay here for another 75 years and then we'll have a really neat data set. The research questions that you can answer with not just primates but with any like group living species are very, very interesting because I'm interested in how groups work. Because groups are actually very weird things, because they're like whole bunches of monkeys or people or horses that want the same thing and they're in each other's way. Because when you're in a group, you're gonna have to share resources and there are never enough resources. So, first of all, why are there so many species that live in groups? We have some ideas about that, but then how does that work? So I think if that's what you want to know, if that's what you're interested in, then monkeys are a very, very good research species for that. One of the fun things, especially about the genus that we work with, so macaques, is that there are quite a lot of species in this genus. So depending on who you ask, there are like, I think, somewhere between 25 or 28 different species. They all live in the tropics. Some of the things they do very much the same, and some things differ quite a bit between species. Like some have very strict rank orders, some don't. We have a whole bunch of species. Basically, they more or less have the same problems because they live in groups. So they have like the same issues to deal with. They don't solve them in the same way. So that's really interesting. Why don't all these species have the same rank order? Does that have to do with the forest that they live in, with how they find their food through the forest? Or is it just like, it just happened and it differs now and that's just the way it is? It doesn't have anything to do with the forest, it's just an accident. So things like that are very, very interesting questions because we can actually look at it, because there are many people that work in this genus. So we can see, okay, so you have that species, problem X, how do they solve that? And is that actually big because the forest is different or because your cold season is colder? Things like that, how does that work? That's really interesting to me.